Hey, Gen AI Black Belts. Today I'm going to share with you 7 tips for prompt engineering with OpenAI's text to video tool, Sora. So, the first thing that, of course, I will do as a good Gen AI Black Belt is I will go to ChatGPT and look for these tips. Now, what I did is I'm using the model O3 Mini High, which has amazing search capabilities. So, if you click on O3 Mini High, and then I'll just show you how this will look. I put my prompt in here, write 7 tips for prompt engineering with OpenAI's text to video tool called Sora. Now, I'm just going to tell you a tiny bit about this prompt that I used. There's probably a few other things on the internet called Sora, and I don't want it hunting down or getting confused with other tools called Sora. Also, I want it to know that it's by OpenAI because, like I said, if there's copycats or I've seen many video tools out there that are like, oh, it's open source Sora. Like we don't want that. We want because we all have paid access to Sora, it has a fairly good quality. We want OpenAI's video tool, like text to video tool. And then I have this part in the prompt, and I'm just going to make this a little larger for you. That says text to video, right? And so it's unmistakable what this tool does. It's text to video. We're writing a text prompt, and it produces video, and I want it to know all of that. Now, I actually started out by saying 10 tips, and I was like, 10, that's a lot. When when I'm like brainstorming, I'll ask for 10, 15, maybe 20 different ideas to compare, and then I can skim through them quickly and say, oh, okay, most of these are garbage. These ones are great. And then sometimes I say, what are the best ones? And sometimes it does okay at that, sometimes not. But when I'm asking for like a summary, I want fewer, right? So sometimes I'll ask for 3. In this case, I asked for 7 because I really want to delineate the specific tips that it comes up with. So this is the prompt that I used. Okay. And then of course it knows what prompt engineering is. When I first started using these tools back in 2023, and I was writing a book on how to adapt, how organizations can adopt AI, how to implement AI in organizations. Um, it was not as easy because there were no search capabilities, and the large language models did not know about themselves because they were so new that it wasn't on the internet yet when the data set was collected. So we are in the golden age of AI right now, where we can ask it questions about prompt engineering and search the internet, the current internet, and it knows. So that's just a little bit about how I did this prompt. Now, let's get into the response. So I'm just going to delete this because I already put it in here. And here we go. So it thought for a second. And if we want, we can see what it thought about and kind of what it came up with before it gave us the prompt. That's what this is. This is the chain of thought or inference time compute that makes these models so wonderful. In class, Ray mentioned that R1, that DeepSeek R1 does the same thing. They kind of copycatted OpenAI, and I suspect that that many will do the same thing. Grok 3 saw what they were doing, probably. Oh, it has this inference time compute. It's literally thinking through a bunch of things. It kind of gives this long response, and really, this is just the summary, just to show you how this works. Like, this is just the summary of what it thought about. When we had the O1 preview, so O1 is this model here, and it's grayed out because I started the conversation down a different route. If you open a new conversation, then you'll be able to click that. But the when we had O1 preview, it was showing us everything that it was thinking before it created the final response. And it would sometimes be 40 or 80 pages worth of text, just thinking, I'm thinking about this and these parts of the problem. And when I think about the meaning of this word, I think of this. And so it would kind of give all this thought. And then it would then look at that and kind of crunch through that as this 2-step process to get to the final answer. So this inference time compute or chain of thought. COT is sometimes it's written in the literature. This is what it's doing. Thought for a second, right? It's kind of summarizing what it did up here, and that provides much better responses. So let's get into the 7 tips. Here are 7 prompt engineering tips to get the best out of Sora. And I looked at these a little bit before and I thought, these look great. So let's jump into it. And then we'll do a little bit of prompting using it. So keep it concise and focused. Avoid overly lengthy or complex prompts. Stick to clear, focused descriptions so Sora isn't overwhelmed by details. And I've so many times I have given too many prompts or too many details in the prompt. I'm like, oh, it should be this, and there should be this, and make it this, and make it that. It can do some things, but the more that's in it, it actually does worse. So so you want to keep it as concise as possible. You are going to have some details in there, and those are the things that really drive it. But at this point, we're not able to say exactly what we want and drive exactly what we get out of Sora. There are specialized tools that have a much bigger learning curve, and I highly recommend using those. Check them out, and I can give you some tips if you want, or you can go to Chat GPT o3 Mini High or Grok 3 and search the web and get some really good recommendations, which is what I do when I look for things now. So, okay, so keep it concise and focused. Number 2, be highly specific with visual details. So this is almost the opposite of number 1, right? But specific key elements like character settings, lighting, camera angles, for instance, mention a stylish woman in a red dress walking under neon lights rather than a vague scene. So if this is like pretty specific. There's some details here. Now, if you say like the type of lighting, like that could help as well. If we said that there were going to be 5 components in it, that might be a little much. Like I've tried to get it to do this very specific thing with this very specific thing and this very specific thing, and it tends to just break down. So I think talking about one very specific thing is probably the sweet spot. Number 3, leverage a narrative structure. Use a clear sequence or storyboard layout. Break your prompt into parts, e.g., begin with a close-up, then zoom out to reveal. Ooh, right? So you want that ooh feeling to guide Sora through the video's progression. So this is the telling the story, okay? Number 4, avoid overloading with multiple elements. Too many distinct ideas, and this goes back to number 1. Too many distinct ideas in one prompt can lead to visual inconsistencies. Stick to 1 or 2 main visual themes per prompt, which is what I hit on before. Number 5, specify motion and transitions. Since Sora generates video, clearly indicate any movement or transitions you want, like panning, zooming, or cut changes to improve temporal coherence. Temporal coherence is the kind of the physical world. Temporal meaning the elements of the physical world that can be seen. And so talking about how it should move through, that'll help it know kind of what you want in terms of camera angle and movement. Number 6, use descriptive, vivid language. And this goes back to about that 1 or maybe 2 things. Engage Sora's creative capabilities by painting a picture with adjectives and evocative terms. Think cinematic. Describe moods, textures, and colors to steer the output. Number 7, iterate and refine your prompts. And I've done this a bunch, and I showed it in class. Experiment with variations, review the generated outputs, and adjust details as needed. A bit of trial and error is key to finding the sweet spot for your desired video outcome. And these strategies help ensure that your text-to-video prompts are both clear and inspiring for Sora, leading to more consistent and engaging video results. So let's go to Sora. And whoops, I went to Perplexity. Okay, so in ChatGPT, if you scroll up to the top, so I have a bunch of these, and I've archived most of the things that I've created. But you'll see that this is Sora. It's right there at the top of the list. So again, if you've scrolled down, you'll need to scroll up to the top, and then Sora is right here, and you can either click on it or this little arrow, and I'm just going to click on it. And so now it brings me to Sora. So you remember that I demonstrated before the videos that I made with the polar bear. And then after that, I used it to try and make a polar bear dance, and it wasn't doing a great job. You have to mouse over it in order to get it to play. So this is doing okay, but to me, this polar bear looks like it's from a Pixar movie. It doesn't look real. And so does kind of the hand there in the bottom left. So I thought, you know what? Like, and the background, I think, looks like it's like fake grass or something like that. It just, the whole thing kind of looks sort of fake. Like this part back here looks more real, but it's also a little bit choppy. So I thought, no, that's not what I want. Um, so I let me show you my prompt here. So make a polar bear in the zoo dancing. That was the prompt. And this one I said make a lifelike, photorealistic video of a polar bear dancing in a zoo, shot on DSLR. And I've heard that from a lot of different prompt engineering tips, like telling it what type of camera specifically was used, will be helpful for the large language model to interpret what it should look like. So you can see that I gave it uh, more details here. I said in a zoo. Let's see. I said in a zoo here, but I gave it the photorealistic, lifelike, right, so that it knew it should not do a Pixar-like video. So this one, and I'm doing these in 480p. I think I might be able to do a smidge higher, but it's okay for the size of screen that it's going to go on for mobile. So yeah, if I got like um, and it takes much less tokens. So you'll notice like I did all of these in a day. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I think I did those 20 in one day. I might have done a few of them in the second day, um, but it's like you can do a bunch. Like you don't have to be afraid that you'll do 3 or 4 and then it's done. Like you can do a bunch once you have this plus membership. And if you do the pro membership for $200 a month, then you could, I think it's unlimited. So this is the next version, right? It's a little more lifelike. It's sort of like acting like it's gonna fall over, but it still looks kind of like fake because like the balance seems like a little bit off, like it would be falling much sooner. And then the way that it moves is just like not realistic. So it looks a lot more real, I think, but it just wasn't quite what I wanted. So I was like, okay, well maybe I'll do a polar bear swimming in a pool of money. And so it looks like I had a J on the end of money, but it spelling errors are like easily fixed by large language models. It doesn't mind if you have spelling errors. So this is the one that you see in the, if you've seen the post that I did. I didn't even mention a polar bear in my post. I think I mentioned like money because I was giving away $25, and like the poor polar bear, it's not having that much fun, probably getting blasted by the bombs in the water or whatever it is. But it's very intriguing. And when I went to the analytics of the post after I posted this, I noticed that the average number of seconds that somebody watched this 5-second video was about 15 seconds. So people were watching this video 3 times on the average. Um, Hundreds of people watched this. I think it was like when I looked at it, like people had watched this for like 16 minutes or something crazy like that. Um, like maybe it was 12 and a half. I think it was 12 and a half minutes. Like they spent 12 and a half minutes watching this little tiny clip, and like on average 3 times. So what does that tell you? It tells you that it's very visually intriguing. Like the whole thing is just like, oh, what's going on there? Like I think the way that it's moving kind of slowly, and it's like you can see underneath the water, like it's all very interesting. Like it's a little bit choppy, yeah, like when it chops, like, oh, maybe it's just when it starts over it's choppy. Yeah, it's just when it starts over. But yeah, it's pretty smooth all the way through, I guess, for the whole 5 seconds. So that's what I was kind of looking for. Something that looked real, and it had a nice smooth, like to draw somebody in, and there we go. It totally did the job. So then my next project is this. I saw this video. I see these shorts of of like a bear, like what should you do if you get a bear attack, or like don't do this if you should never do this if you encounter a bear. And it's like, oh, what's that? It's this total clickbait stuff. And so and at the beginning of the short, I saw somebody was unzipping their tent door, and there's a big bear right outside, like approaching the tent, and it's so the person unzips the tent door a little bit, and they unzip the tent door, and you see this big bear coming, and they're like trying to zip it back up, and then like their hand slips off like part way. So it's hilarious. But if you're watching it, you're the first time you're probably thinking like, oh my goodness, like what's gonna happen to this person, right? So there's this element of suspense, and I was like, what, like there's a good chance that's fake, either either generated by AI, or that they took Photoshop and they took a video of a tent. Maybe they've even made it of like unzipping the tent door and then trying to zip it back up, and then they put that you can superimpose that second clip like on top of it. So it could be that they just like made that in a video editor like After Effects, or a large language model, like you don't know anymore. So like part of the reason I'm showing you this is so that you're not fooled by, oh, that must be real. Like, oh, that person was in danger. Like, could have been, but there's a good chance that that was not the case anymore. So I was like, oh, like you could do that with any, large kind of scary looking animal. So I generated this one. And to me, like it almost looks a little bit fake, like the wind is kind of blowing those in, but it's kind of like eerie, like they're on strings or something as well. So I do like how it's a slow reveal of the rhino. It's like, oh, is that a rhinoceros? Like, what is that? And then it kind of opens up there. Um, like it's a little bit shaky, like for fun, and you can tell it's in a tent. Um, but I thought maybe we could just apply some of the tips that we used, that we found in the post, to improve this prompt. And do I have to use my brain? No, I do not. So I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to put it in here, and I can say, use these tips to improve this prompt. Okay. And then paste it in. So I usually use a colon or a dash or some hard returns to tell it like, hey, like this prompt right here. So it's refining the prompt. Okay, I need to improve the original prompt, blah, blah, blah. Like it's defining the task for itself. Reason for 10 seconds, I improve the prompt. Inside a softly lit, weathered canvas tent, I slowly unzip the door. As the zipper slides open, I cautiously peer out to see a majestic, full-sized rhino standing just beyond the threshold. The animal's rugged silhouette is bathed in the gentle glow of a nearby campfire under a starry night sky, creating a tense cinematic moment. This version adds vivid details, clear transitions, and a structured narrative to guide Sora in generating a more engaging video output. Okay, so let's try this. And you could see that I had not done this exact sequence before. Like, oh, think of a prompt, like, oh, make it better in ChatGPT, and then move back to Sora. I haven't done this before, but all you need to do, I'm going to hide this little guy here. It's part of the screen recording. All you need to do in order to use Sora is paste it in there and press enter or return. And you'll notice that I have it clicked on 9:16, which is basically a phone standing up, which is best for YouTube Shorts uh, or LinkedIn. And you can use these presets, which are just like different styles. So a balloon world, whimsical stop motion. I haven't played with that yet. I imagine it's really fun. Archival, I think, is like looks like film from the 70s or whatever, on a home camera probably. Cardboard and paper craft. So there's a lot of these things that could be fun, depending on what your brand is and what kind of message you're trying to get across. These ones, you don't have many options here. It's one by one, which is also probably good for LinkedIn. Honestly, LinkedIn like could be better with the one by one. So maybe I'll do this next time that I do it. And then 480, see, I can do 720 with the current, with the plus plan, but I just like cranking them out quickly with the 480, and then I have like more options. You can do 5 seconds or 10 seconds. And I think it's like, I think like the 5 seconds is long enough, like for, a little post. And then also like you typically want to have multiple scenes. You want, like, the ideal is every 3 to 4 seconds for like a commercial or a movie or a show, like you want to be changing the camera angle and the visual kind of perspective on what's happening every 3 to 4 seconds. So 5 seconds is a little bit of a stretch, but sometimes it's moving the camera around already for you. And so, if it's 10 seconds, probably what you'll get is something that you need to cut up anyway, or just cut a piece out of. Which is fine if you have enough time and you don't, and you can make enough prompts to get what you want. But like I said, I like just the short ones. And then you can do 1 video, 2 videos, 4 videos. And because I am not super confident in my ability to make these prompts and get what I want yet, that's why I'm doing just one at a time, because you'll burn through 4 times faster. If your prompt sucks and you're like, oh, my prompt sucked, then you're burning through 4 times as many credits, right? When you do that. I haven't run out of credits yet when I'm doing this, but I'm assuming that, if I burn through 4 times faster, that I probably would. So creating will use 20 at current settings. I don't know what that means. 20 something. Maybe you only get 20 of those per day, which I got close to that. So it makes sense that you could get at least that. So you can do, there's a storyboard feature, and I had heard from others that it didn't work that well. I tried it and it didn't work that well for me. So feel free to try that. But yeah, good luck. It did not work for me. So now we have this much improved prompt. Let's compare the two. So remember, the first one was like the slow reveal rhino. The rhino's kind of out there hanging out. There's not much in the tent. A couple pillows. That's one thing I noticed. Like, you can't see the person's legs or anything. It might draw you in more if you could. But um, okay, you can see the person's hand. I really like how you can see the person's hands, and then the rhino's out there like standing almost right in the fire. You're like, ooh, what is that? And then it kind of, like, you kind of realize, like, ooh, what is that? It still has the slow reveal thing. I think that the rhino being like basically in the fire is kind of creepy and weird, but I kind of like it. I kind of like the way it was done. Let's do another one. So what I'm gonna do, and this is what I did a lot. Um, so I just put the same prompt in, and this can help you see the variability between how it generates one with the next one. And this is something that's just really important to know, that you don't necessarily have to change the prompt in order to get a different option. So, what would be better? It would be better if the rhino weren't standing in the fire. Um, probably if um, Probably when it regenerates. Oh, this is weird. You can kind of see out here, the sky kind of looks like the edge of a tent. I don't know if others would notice that. It tells us when the next one's ready to watch, which is nice when you're like scrolled way down, kind of analyzing the last ones, like we were. Um, but so I don't think other people would notice that it's like, it looks literally like the tent is like it's inside of a tent. See, because we're like on the outside of the tent. You can see from the top here, and there's the starry sky. So yeah, that's why it looks weird, because it made the rhino inside of a giant tent, which is just kind of weird. And then it's on top of the fire. So let's see if this next one is any better. So we've got hand there. Okay, so again, like kind of a slowly reveal, like, what is that? Oh, it's a rhinoceros. And okay, so the rhino is not standing in the fire this time, and I think that this one also. Let's see, is it showing we're inside the tent? It sort of looks again like we're on the outside of the tent. So I think what we need to do, let's just look at. We can probably see the whole thing easier here. Inside a I slowly unzip the door. Okay, so we didn't we didn't tell it and I'm just gonna have it rephrase it. We didn't tell Sora that we are inside the tent. Okay, so rewrite, making it clear that I am inside the tent. I'm just gonna make sure it knows what word this is, because insight is also a word. I'm inside the tent, and the rhino is outside the tent. Okay, so that's all you need to say. It's gonna rewrite it, and it's gonna make that part clear. So we had the same we put the same prompt in twice, and we got the same problem twice, and so which was actually different than my original. So I inside a dimly lit tent, blah blah blah. Pull down. Okay, I carefully pull down the zipper of the door. As I slowly slide it open, I see a full-sized majestic rhino standing just outside, its powerful silhouette illuminated by the soft glow of moonlight. And I think that could be more scary and interesting than the campfire idea. Um, so I'm going to put in this prompt and see what happens. Um, and by the way, so you notice the difference between the super tall. This is 16 by 9, which usually we say 9 by 16 because we say the height first. 9 by 16 is like the typical PowerPoint slide. It's a typical, like basically the size of a cell phone. Um, and it's pretty close to the golden ratio. If it's not the golden ratio, it's pretty close. And it's like a credit card, like a lot of money is pretty close to the golden ratio. And it's just like the humans just like this ratio for some reason. Um, and but LinkedIn uses more of a square, so that's why I'm doing that. All right, let's see what we got here. I cannot see what's going on there. See if I can make this bigger. I think there's like a rhino here, but it's not very easy to see what's going on. So I think that was terrible. So that did not work very well. Let me see what difference it was. I carefully pull down the zipper of the door. Yeah, this. I'm just gonna do the same thing again. Um, and I actually prefer the um, add the campfire and make it clear that the rhino is standing next to the campfire. So, um, so yeah, sometimes you just get like junk that comes out of it, and you're like, oh man, that was junk. And it's like, it was kind of a waste of my time, right? Um, but that's how it is when you're managing people or technology doing a task for you. So I'm not sure what for eight. Oh, for 8 seconds. Okay. So inside a dimly lit canvas tent, I carefully pull down the zipper of the door to peer outside. Um, Beyond the fabric, a full-size majestic rhino stands right next to a crackling campfire. Instead of, I'm just going to put in here to edit it. I don't want to say right next to. I just want to say near because I don't want it to be standing over the fire like that one time. Near a crackling campfire. The campfire casts a warm glow on its powerful form, contrasting sharply with the cool moonlight that envelops the wild scene. Okay. So, okay, I like how it says, I carefully pull down the zipper. Okay, but then it lost that I am inside, right? So I need to say I am inside a dim canvas tent. I carefully pull down the zipper of the door to peer outside. Okay, so that makes it very clear that I am inside and I'm looking outside. I think I've got all the elements here. And so I was confused on how to get out of this screen because you think that like that if I click this button, it's going to go back to like the OpenAI main page or something like that. But when you click it, it just goes back to Sora, and it's just like Sora is one page. Like it's nice. Like you're kind of zooming in, and then it's like I want to go back to Sora, and bam, you're back to Sora like one page. Like there isn't a whole lot of like um, things buried in drop down menus and multi-step hierarchies. Like it's I really like that about Sora. So how do you get back to the page where you're pasting in your prompts? Boom, it's right here. It's always easy to find. So okay, so we're looking at this and we'll see what happens. So I think we've got a really good prompt now. We can just look really quick, I guess, at the tips before. Keep it concise and focused. I think there's probably like maybe a few more things than one in here, but we're not going on and on about it, so it's not like super long. We are pretty like a majestic full size because I want it to be a full size rhino. Like one time with with the polar bears. Let me show you something I got. One thing I just so I ended up using uh, this clip because it was the most lifelike of the polar bears, and but the issue is, I'll tell the issue in a second. The other ones I made, it's walking through the tables. It's like walking through chairs and stuff like that. Like it looks really great, except that it's walking through chairs, so you can tell instantly that it's fake. So I didn't like that, and I didn't use any of these clips. Like I probably could have used like a second maybe of it, or maybe a second of one of these. This it made two for me. I was like, which one do you like better? So I think I could have used a few seconds of one of these before it like walks through something, and that would have probably been better. Like I can't remember why I didn't do that, but the thing about this one, so this one looks very real to me. Like it almost steps off the table, but it doesn't really do anything that's like it has more people kind of reacting to it. I think it's very persuasive when you have like people that are visually like the facial expressions. They're like, something is really weird here. Like this guy's like looking into the camera, like, isn't this crazy? This is weird. And so I really liked it. One thing I didn't like about it, and somebody even mentioned this in the comments, that polar bear is too small. It's not fully grown. This is like a baby cub. And it has the long nose. It seems like baby cubs like should have a shorter face, but maybe that's just me. I'm not a polar bear scientist. So it's like proportionally, it's just too small. So all around. So let's go back up to the top. So we specified full size. Wait, this is this is hilarious. It's like a hand combined with a. Okay, I'm just gonna paste the same thing in and have it running while we're while we're laughing about this here. But like this looks like a cross between a human hand and a rhino. Like this is like back in the day when everybody had six fingers and their fingers were like, when we're first doing image generation. So that is so weird, and it's like almost like sniffing because it's like a nose hand with a rhino horn on it. Oh my goodness. So I love the fire and I love the cross pan. Like if this next one doesn't give us a cross pan, I almost want to add like the cross pan, like a person like sticking their head out of the tent and the rhino and then the fire. Like that is a really great sequence. Let's see if this one's any good. It's back in the tent. It's back in the tent. Oh my goodness. So you can see how the unpredictability of this makes it hard to work with sometimes. That's why you just need to create so many. Um, this is so funny how it's like inside. But actually, if the audience doesn't know that I was trying to get the rhino outside of the tent, like um then it might be fine. Like, oh, so the rhino's inside the tent. So what? Like that's maybe even more scary and unique. So yeah, it's kind of like the slow reveal thing too. It's like, what? Is that a rhino? Yes, that was a rhino. So yeah, and there's like this fire like so that that one is potentially usable. This one I would not use. This one obviously is like super weird and unrecognizable. This one I kind of like it actually. It's like you can kind of tell up on this side like what is going on there. So um maybe. I would say maybe. This one's just like standing over the fire like some kind of fire god rhino. It's just so weird. I don't know. And this was the first one. You know what? I kind of like the first one that I made better because it's like the most real looking and it's not standing in a fire and it does the full reveal. If you use your imagination, maybe the wind is blowing. I'm inside the tent. It's outside the tent. I may be camping in Africa, glamping maybe with those silk pillows that match the tent. But I'm curious. Tell me which one you like the best, and feel free to use this prompt here. I'm just gonna do one more to see. I think it's probably gonna give me the same problems, but let's see. I just want to push it a little further. So I am inside a tent. So let's say that I want to kind of redo this. I'm gonna rewrite this from scratch based on the tips that I got. Um, so we're gonna have a person. Um, let's see. We're gonna say a scared person peeking out of a tent. Let's see. The camera. I'm gonna say the camera pans from left. And I wouldn't know how to write this prompt if I hadn't seen so many examples of what it could be. So I really liked the setup here, right? So the camera pans from left to right, revealing, okay, from left to right, revealing first a scared person peeking out of a tent at night. Then we see a um, a fire burning. So I'll put the fire next. In the middle, uh, burning. Um, let's see, off to the side of the tent. Hopefully, it doesn't light the tent on fire. I can see it doing something like that. Then we see I'm going to say a campfire, so it knows campfire burning off to the side of the tent. And finally, as we finish the pan, a large adult rhino um, stands in the glow, is revealed in the glow of the campfire. So I think that's what I want. And I didn't know that until, I had this experience building shots. Basically, like, become a videographer. Like, a videographer does all this. It's like, what time of day is it? What are the components of the shot? What is the rhino doing? Like, it's just standing there, right? Who is in the tent? What angle do we want someone in the tent? Like, and I imagine that for videos, like when they're making a feature length film, like, and I've done a bunch of videography. Like, I've rented professional camera gear. I've used in-house gear from organizations to do lots of different shoots. And I know that I am not a professional videographer. But what I have done is I've set up the storyboard where I'm like literally drawing a picture. Like, first it's like this, and I literally draw a sketch of what is going to be in that shot. And I say, like, this is the script that is associated with this camera shot. And then it moves to this one. And I've done this for lots of different kinds of things. Um, so there's the, oh, okay. Where did it go? Oh my goodness. It's like it kind of disappears. So I think that I'm going to do the same one. And let me just click on it so that I can get in here. There we go. So I'm going to take the whole thing, and I'm going to just do it again because the rhino kind of disappears into the, you know, but I really like the components. I like how it's like creepy in the firelight. I just don't like how it like melts into the ground or like climbs into the tent or something. So yeah, so I like a lot of it. And I'm guessing if I do this a few more times, and actually I can do this one. You can have two going at the same time, which is kind of nice. But do you see how it slows down the first one? So that's why I typically wait till the first one's done before adding the second one. And it's like, okay, it's done, but it's really like making me wait. Help improve Sora. Pick the best videos in this set. Okay, it's gonna give me two. Oh, okay, it's like kind of hard to look at just one, but I'm gonna look at this one. Yeah, it's showing me like there's like two parts of Rhino that's weird, and this one I don't like it. Um, this one I love. This is like, I think this is the one on the right. So you kind of look past this tent, and then there's a rhino coming out like right by the fire. Oh, I love it. This is the one. I'm so glad I pushed for this. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I sure did, showing you all the things that I think about and do when I'm at my best prompt engineering in Sora. And I hope that you're also able to get to that magic moment when you're pushing and you finally create something that you just love. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.